Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Farzy Show. My name is Mark Farzy. A little program here called the Farzy Show. It's presented by our friends over there at Steven Singer Jeweler. We got a Colts preview today. We got Ndamukong Suh, now a member of the Philadelphia Eagles. What? Yeah, just keep on adding to that defensive line. A lot of guys up there in age, but you're kind of desperate right now. Beggars can't be choosers. And after that game against the Washington football team, against those old Commanders, oh, you need help in the middle of that defensive line. I finally watched the media hit that Fletcher Cox did yesterday, and the one where he talked about feeling like crap. Well, yeah, he felt like crap, and it was no laughing matter. He was donezo in that Washington game. He was cooked in that game. 70 snaps, 84% of the snaps there on the defensive side of the football. So they went and got him some help. One day they had Linval Joseph, a 34-year-old veteran. Now they go and sign a 35-year-old veteran to go on that defensive line, and his name is Ndamukong Suh. I was asked about Ndamukong Suh during a guest hit 2 weeks ago. And I was not in favor. I'm like, it's not that bad. We need to go out there and take flyers on guys. We'll be good to go. And then Marlon went down, and then Cox looked the way he looked against the Washington Commanders. And I was just maybe I would go out there and sign Ndamukong. Then, like an hour after that thought passed through my brain, Ndamukong Suh ended up signing with the Eagles. So now you have Joseph. Now you have Suh. Hopefully, no matter what happens in this game, coming up against Jonathan Allen. No matter what happens Jonathan Taylor, and then no matter what happens in the game coming up against Derrick Henry, who's now throwing touchdown passes again. If you watched the game last night, so you watch all that unfold, and basically what you hope happens is that you're able to take down these run offenses you're about to see. I'm happy that they're here. You need all the help you can get at this point, especially when you're coming off a game where you allowed a damn near 50 rushing attempts in one game. Currently, or excuse me, I should say 2 days ago, you didn't have what it took to withstand that. You still don't, I don't think, have what it takes to withstand 50 rushing attempts in one football game. But now you at least have a better chance of A, never seeing 50 attempts in a game before or again, and B, you actually have guys that I think can still either get after the quarterback in the case of Ndamukong Suh, or you have a guy that can help steady the run defense in a guy like Linval Joseph. These guys are not Pro Bowlers. I don't have delusions about how good these guys can be. They are warm bodies that still have something left in the tank. Those are the two things those are the two boxes that the Eagles needed checked, and Howie Roseman went out there and he checked those boxes. And Ndamukong Suh, again, 35 years old, coming off a 6-sack season where he played every game last year for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He had 13 quarterback hits. He had bounced around a little bit from Detroit, Tampa. He was out there as part of the LA defense. It was a crazy go of it for Ndamukong Suh. Back with the Bucs. Was able to get after the quarterback a number of times last year, especially for a guy that was 35 years old. And when you talk about the defensive line's rotation in particular, with guys like Javon Hargrave and Fletcher Cox already being here, you're going to need some help, but you won't need as much help for those guys you won't need to have the need for those guys to play 80% of the snaps, 70% of the 60% of the snaps. It'll be a solid rotation that they'll have here. And in the event that they do fall into a bit of a rut in these next games, coming up against some pretty stout rushing opponents, you'll have the horses to hopefully withstand the blow more so than you did against the Washington Commanders. That's where we are today. From the locker room, we're going to hear from Darius Slay talking about his former teammate when he was just a wee pup in Ndamukong Suh, when they were teammates with the Detroit Lions, and how they're not just dudes. That's his dude. We'll hear from Darius Slay just because I love Darius Slay so much. We'll hear from him from the locker room. We'll hear from Jonathan Gannon. We'll put a official, now that it's a football Friday, we'll put an official bow on the Commanders game because JG spoke about it yesterday. Jason Kelsey spoke about the referees, and I agree with everyone. I even said this on Tuesday morning show. I agree with everyone that says blaming officials is a loser's mentality because that's ultimately something you cannot control. Can you acknowledge in a game there was a bad call or two? Dallas Goedert being one of them. Little ticky-tack on the Brandon Graham, although letter of the law, sure, you could say that it was supposed to be thrown there, but that's weak. I mean, if the rule's there for player safety, the players still look safe. And so safe indeed that Taylor Heineke was able to jump up and go, whoopee! Oh, he's fine. No flag. Pick it up. The rule's there for safety. He seems safe. I think we're fine. So that's where we're at right now. So we will talk about that Commanders game one last time, and then we'll look ahead, and I'll give you 5 things to make sure you're keeping notice of when it comes to this game coming up against Jeff Saturday's Indianapolis Colts, who are 1-0. They may be 4-5-1 on the season, but under Jeff Saturday, they're 1-0. Goody. So that's where we're at today. Let's start it off by getting that nice big fat bow ready. Oh, and let me just issue an apology. I don't know what the hell's bells I was looking at there, people. But I think I told you yesterday. No, I don't think I told you yesterday. The Sixers were playing last night. The unfortunate thing is I'm a big dumb idiot, and they play tonight. So a lot of time off. A lot of time off for Joel Embiid and company. So a heartfelt miscusi from me to you on that little nugget. The Flyers did play last night. Well, the Flyers were in uniform and skated around on the ice against the Boston Bruins. It did not go well. They lost. So, yeah, it's not going well in Flyer land. Although John Tortorella remains entertaining. All right, let's do this. Let's put a bow on that Commanders game. First off, everyone's favorite, Jonathan Gannon, started out his press conference as he starts every press conference that he gives with, to give you a little recap on the last game, because, of course, defensive coordinators do not speak after wins or losses, and they don't speak after games. They got to wait till their media day. So yesterday was Jonathan Gannon's media day. Here's what he wanted to tell you, the Eagles fan, about what the Eagles did or didn't do against the Washington Commanders.
Didn't do enough to win the game on our end, flat out. Let them possess the ball for a good amount of time, obviously the entire game, especially the first half. There's some things we got to clean up execution-wise, detail-wise. That starts with me. The amount of plays and the time of possession, I felt like that really hurt our team because we're on the field for a long time. And when you do that, then they have the opportunity to score points. And on the flip side of that, our offense is sitting on the bench, and I don't like that.
Hey, you know what's funny about that? We was a comment there, Jonathan Gannon. We didn't like it either. And you know who really didn't like it? Fletcher Cox. You know who also really didn't like it? Shane Steichen, Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts, and pretty much all those guys didn't like it. Main reason was because Fletcher Cox got tired. The other reason was the other 3 offensive names I mentioned barely got opportunities to change the game. And when they did have opportunities to change the game, they fumbled. They gave the ball away. And that's a no bueno. I heard this said, somebody tweeted it. It came up on the old Twitter there. If any of you guys are gamers, maybe you're playing against a computer on all Madden, I don't know, whatever the hell you might be doing. And there are certain games in my big gaming days, I never hooked a video game up to the internet, so I'm not a gamer by any means. But I've had those games as a kid. I remember those games as a kid. It's like you just can't do anything right. I remember having those games in Pee Wee and Little League and all that stuff. You just can't do anything right, no matter what you do. And I said it was coming. I knew there was going to be a game where the Eagles, and I didn't know if they'd lose it, but I knew there was a game coming where the Eagles couldn't do anything right. And this was that game. I didn't expect it to be against the Washington Commanders, but that's how it happened. It's just as fate would have it. The Eagles literally could not do anything right. When you watch the fumbles and the turnovers, even yes, to the officiating, like nothing was breaking their way in that second half, unfortunately. And that's the way the cookie crumbled. No matter what you did, you just weren't winning this game. I think the tweet was, the game just decides you're not winning. Reset on the old Sega Genesis, 16-bit Fury. So that's where we're at. Jonathan Gannon acknowledges that. The thing I don't like about his press conference, and I'm telling you this because I want to play spoiler. I don't want you looking forward to hearing something from JG that's going to make you go, oh my God, maybe they'll make an adjustment, because that's not coming. Nobody asked him about, so what do you do now? Like, are you gonna be more aggressive, or are you to sit back and just watch the plays unfold in front of you and allow those 10-yard cushions, those 12-yard cushions between your defensive back and the wide receiver? Because you're not going to be able to do that this week. You got some guys that are pretty good catching the football. And you got a guy that, although he's not had a lot of success, can still sling it. And now he's running as well for like 20-plus yards. And Matt Ryan. So, just to play spoiler, I wish I did have a clip of Jonathan Gannon of JG talking about how he's going to be more aggressive or how Nakobe Dean was going to see more time on the field or whatever. But unfortunately, I don't have that. What I do have for you is what he thinks Linval Joseph can bring to the table at this point. Now, the interview happened before Ndamukong Suh was officially signed, so there's no questions on that, unfortunately. But here is Linval Joseph, Jonathan Gannon on Linval Joseph.
He's a really good player against the run, and then with Marlon getting hurt, we needed to add another piece there. I was with Linval for 4 years. He's a really good player. His attitude's right. His character is great. He practices extremely hard. He's diligent. So he kind of fits right into what we do and how he wants to play and what he wants to do, and I think it'll help us.
Yep. Do you get a sense there that Jonathan Gannon is giddy to have Linval Joseph, a man, as he said, he was with for 4 years, and as I pointed out to you yesterday, for 2 of those 4 years, Linval Joseph was a Pro Bowler when they were both in Minnesota at the same time, operating under Mike Zimmer. He's pretty excited to have him back, it certainly seems like. And then I went and I watched Linval Joseph, and here's what I can sum up for you as to what Linval Joseph had to say to the media yesterday. One, he had other opportunities to go play somewhere else. The main reason he chose Philadelphia is because Philadelphia is winning. It's a nice reason there, and you want to win. The other reason that he chose Philadelphia is because he had an opportunity to play. He was like, other opportunities that were out there were just like sign and maybe you'll play. And, he understands that. He's a 34-year-old veteran. He understands he's not making a Pro Bowl tomorrow. He gets that. But he understands it's a defensive line that he'll know will be heavily involved in the rotation. He's with a defensive coordinator that he's familiar with, and he's with an 8-0 team that needs DT help. So he kind of checks all those boxes, and the Eagles check all those boxes for him. He said yesterday he still has a lot left in the tank. He said he feels good. He says he's been feeling, he's been staying in shape. So that's great. He also said, which I didn't realize, on that interception return off Carson Wentz a couple of years back for the touchdown, he was clocked at 19 miles per hour. Go get a big fella. Way to be. And he remembered that play fondly in Philadelphia. No, he did not remember fondly. Losing in the NFC Championship game following the 2017 season, when the Eagles, of course, were on their way to winning a Super Bowl. Did not remember that fondly. No, he did not like that. But the attitude seems to be right. Seems to be here to help. Just help the ball club, as they say. And he wants to make sure he can give the Eagles whatever he does have left. And then maybe put some more good film together and then play for somebody else next year. But right now, he's just concentrating on extending his career and helping this team win, which is good. As far as Ndamukong Suh, I don't know if he'll be ready to play come Sunday. Linval Joseph said that the goal is to play this Sunday against the Colts, so hopefully that's the case. And being, again, as I pointed out yesterday, familiar with Jonathan Gannon and his defensive schemes from their previous stop together in Minnesota, that could actually happen. He said yesterday that's the goal, to be on the field come Sunday. Now, with all this defensive tackle help being added, it really comes down to the fact that you don't have Jordan Davis. And that's an unfortunate thing that we can all look at and go, yeah, that kind of sucks. I'd like to have Jordan Davis right now. I'd rather have him than a guy like Linval Joseph, certainly. I'd rather have him than Ndamukong Suh, based on what these guys have left in the tank and based on the fact that you're allowing about 1.5 yards, 2 yards per carry more without Jordan Davis on the field. And as I pointed out to you before, the Eagles, since Jordan Davis has been out of the rotation, since he's been on IR, the Eagles are the 3rd worst rushing team in the NFL. That's no good. And they're going up, by the way, against the team this week, which I'll get to in the Football 5 for this week. Defensively speaking, this team that they're going up against, the Colts, actually knows what they're doing against the run. So it's an interesting balance that we're going to be talking about in a second. But last thing here for you from Jonathan Gannon, and then I got no more Gannon for you for the rest of the day. Jonathan Gannon on Jordan Davis not being involved in the defense right now due to injury, and what really sticks in his craw about things you can't do as a defense. Take a listen to this.
Like Jordan being absent, yeah, he's a really good player, and we like when he's in for us, and he does a good job. I think it's really just how these last couple games have went, how teams are going to try to play us. and that's a correlation to, the other two phases of our team, with our offense and our special teams. So we just got to be ready to combat how people are doing that and don't let our offense. That's why I don't like when our offense is sitting on a bench for 10 minutes, guys. Like I don't even care if you make them kick a field goal, because it's all about points, but we got to get our offense the ball back. And that's what we'll work on this week.
I don't like it. I don't like it, guys. I don't know why that stuck out to me. Did it stick out to you? I don't like it, guys. It was the media's fault. Isn't everything? It was like the media's fault that they were out there for 40 minutes. I don't like it, guys. The offense is sitting over there. Our offense is sitting on the bench for 40 minutes, guys. Anyway. Yeah, that's how teams are going to play it now. That's what he's talking about. He's talking about the book being out. With Jordan Davis being out, so is the book. And the book is run the ball down the Eagles' throats. Well, now you got, maybe not this game, you got Ndamukong Suh. Maybe not this game, but I'm going to go ahead and guess that Linval Joseph plays in this game. And Linval Joseph in there as well. So that's good. These are good things. And I got to give a lot of credit to the man, Howie Roseman. Howie's having himself a year. If these two moves work out, even a little bit, even like where they're helpful and not a detriment, okay? Howie is executive of the year without question. He's like a front runner for it right now. Making these two moves as quickly as he made these moves. I mean, he watched 2 games, watched the opposing offense run the ball right up the middle of the field, blow the Eagles off the ball, and play great. After watching that for 2 weeks, he said, all right, time to make some moves. Who's available? Sue, get in here. Joseph, how you doing? Let's go. Even if these moves work out just a little bit, which is to say they're productive, they're 51% good moves. Just that little. Yeah, he's locked up executive year. And I give him a lot of credit for that. We've talked about Howie Roseman a hell of a lot in this city over his tenure here in Philadelphia, whether it be as the director of football operations, whether it be as the general manager, whether it be while Joe Banner was still here. We're talking about Howie Roseman working his way to the top. And not a lot of what we have had to say, the vast majority of what we've had to say about Howie Roseman has been bad. I wouldn't even say negative. It's been bad. Very negative. There you go. And this year, he's done incredible. The Eagles win a Super Bowl with Howie Roseman putting things together, putting the pieces back together just 2 years after Chip Kelly. Just 2 years later, Howie Roseman assembled a roster that won a Super Bowl. And think about how deep that roster had to be, thinking about those underdogs and the injuries to that team. Oh, that's a huge credit. As much as it's a credit to coaching and game planning and execution as well, it's a credit to assembling a deep roster. That no matter how deep down that roster you went, you found winners. And even after that, we still criticized Howie Roseman. Hey, look, Justin Jefferson, Jalen Reagor. Oh, yeah, that sting is never going away. Not anytime soon. You win a Super Bowl. You have a team that's 8-1 right now. You've had yourself a great offseason. You're having yourself a great regular season. And now, after the trade deadline, you still went out there and found 2 guys on the scrap heap, so to speak, that nobody else was picking up. And now they're in the middle of your defensive line looking to help you win. Maybe one of them as early as this Sunday, and then after that, the next Sunday. So I'm going to cross my fingers and hope that that's what the Eagles needed. And I think it is. And that they are at least 51% a positive influence on this Eagles defensive line. Jesus, needed more bodies. And hopefully these 2 guys have something left to take. 35 years old, 6 sacks last year. That's pretty good. 6 sacks for a defensive tackle. Just in general, forget about being 34 last year. Forget about the seasoned veteran that Ndamukong Suh is. Same thing with Linval Joseph. They're coming in, and they're bringing a lot to the table. And I hope they still just have a lot left in that tank. One last thing for you here. This is actually on the Commanders game again. And I agree with this wholeheartedly because I think Jason Kelce, first off, I think the guy hits all the right notes all the time. And then the second thing is that I couldn't agree with this mindset more. It has to do with the officiating in the last game and moving on from the officiating. And basically it comes down to that's not how winners think. And in a way it got me because Jason Kelsey, after they won the Super Bowl, did such a great job summarizing Rocky Balboa's style. Life's about not getting hit and then keep moving forward. All that stuff, facing adversity. This kind of reminded me of that. Like that's how winning is done. Not talking about officiating, but talking about rather what you can control. So here's one last word from Jason Kelsey on the refs in the Washington Commanders game.
You don't hear winners and teams that win complaining about officials missing calls too often. I think that is something that is highly overemphasized when teams lose games or people lose bets. So that's my own opinion on criticizing what's going on in the official world right now.
There you go. Man for all seasons, Jason Kelsey. All right, last clip I have for you guys, and this has to do with the two signings. One guy knows these two gentlemen rather well. Ndamukong Suh, as I mentioned earlier, was teammates with Darius Slay. They were teammates for, I believe it was 3 years in Detroit. Darius Slay went on yesterday about how much he loves Ndamukong Suh, what he brings to the table, how they're friends, and how Ndamukong Suh is invited to stay at Darius Slay's house, which is very nice. Darius Slay said his family's away, so yeah, come crash at my place. They asked him, how much will rent be? He goes, oh, dude, I'm rich. He doesn't have to pay me. He's rich too, but he doesn't have to pay me. But this is how we broke down the acquisition of Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh. Here's your boy Darius Slay.
These guys they brought in today for sure. I played against Joseph when he's in Minnesota. Been seeing him dominate for so long, man, and I know he still got it too. Just watching him out there today. So guys is like, at his age in life, he's like, you want to win a Super Bowl, because that kind of like almost complete your career, kind of like. So, I'm looking forward to it too.
Does it also send a message to the guys in the locker room that, like, hey, we're going for it? Like,
oh yeah, I mean, that's what. I hope that's a message to everybody in their locker room. That's how it's supposed to be in the league. Everybody not here to be like a participant. Everybody trying to win the Super Bowl. So, Howie does a great job and they're just making it known, like, hey, this is what I'm trying to do too. Like, he done won one before, so he trying to, get that confetti fall on him again. So I want it too.
So what's Suh like? I mean, from the outside, we obviously don't
He's
know.
amazing. He's an amazing dude, man. Great guy. Very loving guy, man. That's my guy. Like, that's my dude.
Dude. Do you have a dude? I know I got dudes. I got my dudes, but I got my dudes. I could listen to Darius Slay read the paper. Oh, God, that been so entertaining. I love that he acknowledges what he saw from Linval Joseph in his first practice as a member of the Eagles, which was yesterday. I love that he acknowledges that. Love that he's got left in the tank. Talking about Linval Joseph's time as a member of the Minnesota Vikings. Of course, he is seeing Darius Slay quite a bit, being that Darius Slay was with the Detroit Lions, and they were playing each other twice a year, so they're familiar with one another. I love that the familiarity there with Ndamukong Suh. Obviously, those were both teammates there in Detroit, and they've obviously stayed in touch. They've been talking throughout this process, it seems like. So that's interesting. And beyond that, so he seems excited to be adding these guys to the defensive line. When you hear from guys like Fletcher Cox, he's excited that Linval Joseph is here now. I think anything that gives him a break in a catastrophe of a game, if it is to rear its ugly head yet again, and with the schedule that the Eagles have in front of them, guys like Aaron Jones, guys like Jonathan Allen, I did it again, Jonathan Taylor, and guys like Derrick Henry, then yeah, you're gonna need some help there on the defensive line. So they went out and got that. And then the other thing is just acknowledging what the message sends to the message to the rest of the locker room when you're making acquisitions like this. Because look, these aren't, I use the term scrap heap, right? Which is what you use when you talk about, guys that are still free agents in week 11, right? Well, when you look at it like this, to these guys in the locker room, this is not scrap heap moves. This is not just roster fillers. These are guys that come in with a reputation. These are guys that come in with a history of success and being very good at their position in years past. Now, in a more recent scenario, Ndamukong Suh had a lot of success last year. But these are guys that are coming with a reputation to uphold. These are guys that have accomplished, Pro Bowl seasons. And these are guys that demand respect in the locker room. Are they going to be the guys that are going to jump out and be leaders and take the reins in that regard for like Brandon Graham or Fletcher Cox? No, of course not. But these aren't just your typical guys you've never heard of coming in to just be a body. Be a body is the baseline here. That is the lowest bar you could have. Having the reputation and the success that these two guys have had and brought to the table, that's what sends the message to the rest of the team. I believe in you guys to the point where we can win a Super Bowl. So I'm not going to let another team do what Washington just did to us. I'm going to go out there and make sure that you guys have help. I'm going to make sure that you guys not just have help with a warm body, but somebody that's going to go out there and, oh my God, might actually be able to get penetration and get into the backfield, get after the quarterback. Somebody that might be able to win their one-on-one battles. Someone that might be able to take those double teams off of Fletcher Cox and get into the backfield. And bring a quarterback down, hit a quarterback, force a quarterback into a mistake, stop the run game. Linval Joseph, obviously that's what you're here for more so than anything. And although Ndamukong Suh is much better in passing situations, I still rather have him in the middle of the defensive line than maybe anybody else that's available to you right now. Excuse me. Let me just preface that. There you go. That's available to you right now more than anybody else. So I look forward to seeing how much those guys have left to give the not only just the Eagles, but the game in general. So credit to Howie Roseman for doing that, and Darius Slay for highlighting the message that sends from Howie Roseman to the rest of the locker room and getting these two guys on your defensive line right now, especially with the schedule that's in front of you. So that's what I like seeing, and that's what I'm happy to see. Let's get into our Farzy 5 for this week's matchup against the Indianapolis Colts. I mentioned on the season they're 4-5-1 on the year, 1-0 under Jeff Saturday. I forgot this guy existed, people. I haven't done deep dives on the Colts up until recently, but I was just watching the highlights from their game last week, and I jumped out to me, Yannick Ngakoue? Oh my God, that's right! The apple of our eye a couple of years ago when he was with the Jacksonville Jaguars looking to get out of Jacksonville. The Eagles, unfortunately, were not able to get him. Now they're going to face him. So how's he doing this year? Well, the man's got 5 sacks, so he's doing pretty well. And they got a stout run defense out there in Indianapolis, and he's part of that as well. So he's having himself a great year. Number one thing I'm going to be looking at with Yannick Ngakoue, or with this defensive unit of the Colts, Yannick Ngakoue, 5 sacks. So keep him in mind. I mentioned that defense. Fourth thing I'm going to be looking at in this game, defensively speaking, they allow 3.8 yards per carry. 3.8 yards. So if you're Miles Sanders, Kenny Gainwell, Boston Scott, Jalen Hurts to an extent, but if you're a running back in particular, that's something you're keeping your eye. 3.8 yards per carry. It's the second best total in the NFL, second best average in the NFL. So it's not going to be that easy to keep possession of the football. That's why I bring it up. In the battle of clock management that I know the Eagles are going to be keeping a close eye on after last week's Monday night's debacle when it came to time of possession, a lot of that comes from being able to run the football. It's difficult to do it against the Indianapolis Colts. Per game, their average is pretty bad, but yards per attempt is pretty damn good. They're like a top 10 defense in rushing yards allowed per game, but when it comes to rushing yards allowed per attempt, they're the second best in the NFL. So I'm going to keep an eye on for that. One of the reasons they're doing it. Now, I mentioned guys like Ndamukong Suh. I mentioned guys like Linval Joseph, not necessarily in their prime. DeForest Buckner, still very much in his prime. 5.5 sacks in the season. A defensive tackle that can play very well in the run and the pass game. He's a guy I'm going to be keeping a close eye on. When you look at guys like Jason Kelsey and you look at your interior lineman, Landon Dickerson, that's a guy you're going to have to keep a close eye on. Buckner can do just about anything you need him to do on the defensive line for the Indianapolis Colts, and I would like him to do as less as possible against this Philadelphia Eagles team. This would be a great opportunity just by looking at their run defense, just by looking at the defensive tackle and the defensive end, and Ngakoue and Buckner. Those are two guys right now that I'd like to see this offensive line step up and establish themselves yet again as one of the best in football. Own this game, own the line of scrimmage. And you can say this about any game, but you're going to win the game. Own the line of scrimmage, blow those guys off the football, blow them off the line of scrimmage, and you're going to win this game. Open up holes for Miles Sanders. First off, hold on. Wait for it. Nick Sirianni, Shane Steichen, give the ball to Miles Sanders. That'll be good for starters, right? Because he can't beat their defensive line if you don't give him the ball. If you don't give him the opportunity, you're not going to do it. So let's just start with the easy approach here. I give the ball to Miles Sanders. Oh, but the yards per attempt are really good. Well, sometimes you still got to run the football. Miles Sanders is a playmaking running back for you. put the ball in his hands. And you have one of the best, if not the best, offensive line of football. Yeah, I want to trust them a little bit more than just the pass game. So yes, please, and thank you. Number 2. A couple of things combined in number 2 here. Matt Ryan can still throw the football. And as I alluded to earlier, he broke off a nice little run for himself, whatever. I think that's a one-time thing. Paris Campbell, Michael Pittman are 2 guys that Darius Slay, James Bradbury are going to have to keep close eye on in this game, especially after Terry McLaurin just went off on you guys. And here's the thing. I have a lot of confidence in Darius Slay, and I have a lot of confidence in James Bradbury. But who I don't have a lot of confidence in is Jonathan Gannon. How is he going to position his cornerbacks against these targets? Is he going to allow the 12 yards of space, the 8 yards of space? Is he going to jam at the line of scrimmage? What are we doing here? Because if you're going to play a veteran, seasoned quarterback like Matt Ryan, I don't give a damn about the numbers this year, but if you're going to play a quarterback like that the same way you play Taylor Heineke, just hand in your clipboard, son. It's over. And listening to our boy Hollis Thomas yesterday break it down for us, just saying, look, you got to be aggressive. If you're allowing an offense to have 49 rushing attempts against you, if they're on the field that much and for that long, you got to do something to change it. You can't just be somebody that sits back and allows that to happen. Oh, they'll make a mistake. Football's hard. They'll make a mistake. Yeah, well, you're making it easier. So I'm going to go ahead and cross my fingers that they learn a nice little lesson here. And just let's get crazy that they actually stop the passing game. And they don't sit back there and wait for Matt Ryan to pick them apart. So second thing I'm looking at is the passing game overall of the Indianapolis Colts, namely Michael Pittman and Paris Campbell. Paris Campbell's got 3 touchdowns on the season. Not a lot by any means. It's a struggling offense, but still, he's having himself a nice year. They're also both coming off 7-catch games last week with their win over the Raiders. So that's one thing I'm going to be looking at. And then the number one thing is Jonathan Taylor. I mean, this segment brought to you by Duh. That's who I'm going to be looking at above all, because it's a huge concern when you face one of the best running backs in the NFL and you're having the 3rd worst run defense in the NFL over the last 2 games. That's a cause for concern. And it's not just a cause for concern because of the rushing yards per game at 160 per game, which is pretty terrible. It's the time of possession and how much that can control the game. And if Jonathan Taylor is going off and they're bleeding the clock and your offense only gets 3 possessions in the first half, there's not a lot of success there. There's not a lot of points you're scoring. I said it's kind of a sick compliment when teams use this as their approach to playing you. It's a sick compliment to the offense. It's a compliment to the MVP. They want to keep the MVP of the league to this point off the football field. And that guy's name is Jalen Hurts. And this is only a bigger voucher for the fact that Jalen Hurts is the MVP. Because if they just continue to run the football against this Eagles team, it exploits a weakness on their defense, which is the most obvious thing. But then the second part of it, the more in-depth thing, is just keeping the offense off the field, because you don't want Miles Sanders, Jalen Hurts. You don't want A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith coming on the football field scoring points for them. Yeah, they can score in a flash, but as we saw last week, that's not always guaranteed. Quez Watkins' fumble was going to set up maybe a touchdown, at least a field goal. It was going to put you in field goal range, and you were going to get on the board again. They can score quickly if they don't turn the football over. But if you limit the possessions they have, if you limit their time of possession, then they're not going to have as many opportunities. That's one thing Chip Kelly never understood that really was driving me crazy, that was kind of underrated about things we didn't like about Chip Kelly. But yeah, time of possession matters. I hate to tell this to people. Time matters. Time is a big deal. Time is probably the most important thing ever. How much time do I have? Oh, that's it? Yeah, that's a problem. And the Eagles had no time with football last week, which means they had less opportunities to score with the football. Some of that is on the Eagles. A lot of it is on Washington Commanders and what their game plan was going into this game. The idea that Miles Sanders only had only had 2 carries at halftime, that's pretty god-awful. If the Colts attempt to do the same thing the Commanders did, which was just keep Jalen Hurts off the football field, and the Eagles defense can't stop it, and Jonathan Gannon has nothing to stop the rushing attack of a guy like Jonathan Taylor, then we're going to be in for an awful Sunday afternoon. Now, with all that being said, my official prediction for this game is that the Eagles beat the Colts and bounce back from a rough outing against the Commanders, a very rough outing against the Commanders, and they bounce back and right back on the winning track, and the Eagles win this game by a score of 24-20. That's where I have it. It's going to be close. It's going to be uncomfortable. We're going to have moments of worry, but the Eagles win this game. Here's one thing I am looking forward to outside of that 5 there. I want to see what Jack Stahl can bring to the table. I want to see what Craig Cockletaire can bring to the table as tight ends, because the loss of Dallas Goedert really stings. And I look at Dallas Goedert similarly to the way I looked at Brent Selleck early on in his career, with one exception. I thought Brent Selleck always had good hands. I thought he was always a good receiving tight end. I think that for a lot of his time here in Philadelphia, they went through some offensive line turmoil, and they needed him to stay in as a blocker. But I think he could have been a Pro Bowl tight end. I think he was a Pro Bowl talent tight end throughout his career. The unfortunate thing is you don't get a lot of credit for blocking. Dallas Goedert came into this league as a hell of a blocking tight end. He has become a much better receiving tight end. And since he has become tight end number 1 with the absence of Zach Ertz going out to Arizona, and Zach Ertz obviously now done, looks like done for the season with an injury, prayers up for him. But when it comes to Dallas Goedert and his speedy recovery, the Eagles offense is going to miss him tremendously. Yeah, the catching is the receiving and the yards and the touchdown and all that stuff. That's all sexy. But the stuff that doesn't really make the front page is how good of a blocker he is. And one of the things that really sticks out in my mind is if you remember that game in Atlanta, the year following the Super Bowl, they went into Atlanta. I remember they opened up the roof, or they closed the roof in Atlanta, and it like changed the pressure in the dome. And then it was like 3 different players came up with hamstring injuries. Goddard was one of them. Deshaun Jackson, I think, was another. And I remember after that game, Jason Kelce in particular, I remember being in the locker room and Jason Kelce talking about how when Dallas Goedert went down, they had to throw out like half their playbook because they didn't have him to block as a tight end. And he is so good at doing that they're like, well, we can't run that play because Dallas isn't here. Can't run that play because Dallas isn't here. Can't run that. Can't run that. Can't run this because Dallas is there. He came into the league as a pretty damn good blocker. Now he's, I think, just all around one of the best tight ends in football. I mean, hands down. I mean, maybe even the second best. It's not like George Kittle's having a great year either. But you look at a guy like Travis Kelce, yeah, cornerstone. I mean, talking about Patrick Mahomes' safety blanket, yeah, it's Travis Kelce. After that, I think it's Dallas Goedert in the NFL. That's how much they're going to miss him as a weapon, as a receiving target for Jalen Hurts, and as a big part of the run game. So, hey, that leaves out their opportunity. Craig Cockletaire, Jack Stahl, who's been here a minute. Let's see what you got, fellas. The Eagles need somebody to step up in this situation. So go out there and make something happen for yourselves. And hopefully you take full advantage of this opportunity to see what you guys can do. Let me tell you about my man, Steven Singer, Steven Singer Jewelers, the other corner of 8th and Walnut, right here in Philadelphia, online at IHateStevenSinger.com. It's IHateStevenSinger.com. One place, one price, the perfect price each and every day, online at IHateStevenSinger.com. How about the amazing people at Manscaped? Manscaped.com, the leader in below-the-waist grooming. Ladies and gentlemen, you can take advantage of this great offer right now for their Platinum Package 4.0 when you use promo code Farzy. That's promo code Farzy at Manscaped.com. What does that get you? It gets you 20% off and free shipping at Manscaped.com when you use promo code Farzy. Because, fellas, you want to look good everywhere, right? That's where their Platinum Package 4.0 comes in, their greatest bundle yet. It includes the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer. It also includes the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer. And it all comes with skin-safe technology that helps you reduce the risk of nicks so you can manscape with confidence and comfort. Go to manscaped.com for more information. Also, make sure you guys are checking out Freestone Farm CBD, freestonefarmcbd.com, especially their half Hindu Kush. Clocks in at 21%. Not too shabby. Go to Freestone Farm CBD, freestonefarmcbd.com. Don't forget about the Mojo app during football season. Download the Mojo app to your phone, and even in the offseason, because with the Mojo app, there's no offseason. How's that grab you, huh? Available in New Jersey and must be in New Jersey to trade on Mojo. Now, what's Mojo? First off, check out mojo.com for more information on this great product and how you can learn to buy and sell stock attached to players' names in the NFL. Over 300 skilled positions in the NFL. And it goes across quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends. Like Grant Calcaterra, for instance. Maybe you pick him up, buy low, sell high. But that's what you can do right now with a guy like Grant Calcaterra. So go to Mojo app, go to the Mojo app, download it to your phone, and let the games begin. Each player has a share price attached to them, and it rises and falls throughout the season. Anything that could affect their on-field play. So there's no off-season. Yet again, no off-season. Not too bad. So go to the Mojo app, download it to your phone. Available in New Jersey. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Have a PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's phlsportsnation.com. Let's get into the chat check and see how you wonderful people are doing today. This started out of the tap, leading off for us. Kevin, good morning, Kevin. Sean, what's happening? April. Wait, Sean, did you just learn now that Ndamukong Suh was added to the roster? I am breaking news. Welcome to the party, pal. April, good morning. Sean, hello again. April, Sue has not aged well, but he will work for the short term. Right? That's all I'm looking at. Mally, what's going on? Happy brisk football Friday, my good people. Go Birds. T-Bro, go Birds indeed. T-Bro, Joseph looked like he was football ready when he entered the Eagles facility, unlike Quinn, who looked like he needed a walker. Yeah, there's a lot of. They've added some years. They've added some years to that defensive line. That's for sure. So at least Gannon used concealer on Joe. Oh, come on. Mally, Gannon is like Ben, scared to shoot the ball. Gonna be our downfall. Yeah, I hope not. Got to give Howie credit. He is still going for Super Bowl or bust with the player moves this season. April, totally agree. Everyone's saying hi to each other. Mihai. What's up, Mihai Sanchez? Good morning, Mark, and everyone. Great moves by Howie yesterday. In Howie we trust. Same with the Phillies. In Dave we trust. Those are guys that have won championships. In our defensive line, if our defensive line gets rid of by Jonathan Taylor, at least he's one of my favorite fantasy. Well, I'm happy Jonathan Taylor's on your fantasy team, Mihai. Let's see. Farzy, if we win the toss, do we still take the ball in the second half? Yes. Yes. I love how that, I mean, we talked about video games earlier in the show. I like how that's something that every 12-year-old figured out before NFL coaches. It's better to take the ball for the second half. Now, there are exceptions. Like maybe your offense was struggling. Like Doug Peterson did it once, where they had been struggling with first quarter points for a long time, and they won the toss, and they decided to take the ball. Excuse me. Finish off that espresso. There we go. Sometimes you do it. Most times you don't. You defer to the second half. It's like a turnover. It can be like a turnover anyway. Wait, hold on a second. Oh, April. Hold on. The Eagles had the ball for less time than it takes to list the Stairway to Heaven. Wow. April. Great pull. Great pull. The end of a high school dance. You heard Stairway to Heaven being played. You knew it was time to call your mom. It was time to get you picked up. Oh, man. Good times. Good times. What is it? The Eagles teams having success with running the ball and stopping. What is it with Eagles teams having success running the ball and the stopping? I don't know. April, good grief. Sorry. If anyone got a comment reported. Oh, there you go. Good grief. April's cat was swatting at the keyboard. There you go. Thanks everybody in the chat. April, remember the high school dances? Yeah. Play Stairway to Heaven. All right, that was Stairway to Heaven. Hope everyone had a wonderful night here at the Soft Hop. Go to the phone, 1-800-COLLECT. You've received a collect call from Mom and Dad's over. Pick me up. Atta baby, it's a boy. Get me in the Wayback Machine. Thanks everybody in the chat. You guys are fantastic. I did mention it earlier, but I'll mention it again. The Flyers lost. It has not been going well, although entertaining. The Flyers last night lost 4-1 to the Boston Bruins in Boston. They are back at it tomorrow night, 7 o'clock against the Montreal Canadiens. That's where we're at right now in the John Tortorella era. 5 straight losses now for the Flyers. So there you go. Flyers 7-7-3 on the young season, if you will. And I can officially confirm that the 76ers are playing tonight at 7:30. That game will be on ESPN. I am such an idiot that I did actually look for the game last night after I told you guys they were playing last night. I got my days confused. I blame Monday Night Football. I take no responsibility. No, I take all the responsibility. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. That was the Morning Rush brought by Sky Motorcars, SkyMotorcars.com. Be back with you guys on Monday morning, Thanksgiving week. And I'm debating whether or not to just have a drink with you guys Wednesday. Wednesday's supposed to be the biggest party night of the year. PJ, I might just log on and I might just drink. And anybody that wants to join me, be happy to join me. Just jump on with me. I'll send you a link. And you'll be a guest on the show. We'll all talk, we'll all kibitz on a Wednesday night. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. My name is Mark Farzetta. Go Birds, 24-20. Eagles win over the Colts. Have a great rest of your day. This is a Buzz Sports Entertainment production. This is presented by the great people, Steven Singer Jewelers. Have a great week, everybody. See ya.